Welcome to She is Resilient, a podcast for women on their healing journeys who are ready to start living their most authentic and empowered lives outside of survival mode. I'm your host, Tatiana, trauma and somatic therapist, as well as a holistic coach, and I'm on a mission to help more women heal their nervous systems. Each week, me and my guests are going to get real and vulnerable about the experiences that led us to becoming the empowered and resilient women we are today. You'll leave this podcast with the skills, knowledge, and inspiration to start creating the life you deserve. Because if another woman can do it, so can you. Welcome back to another episode of She is Resilient. Today we're talking all about perception. Your perception is truly your reality, and unfortunately, your perception, while always valid, isn't always accurate. And it's not a matter of changing your mindset because that's not where perception stems from. It's a matter of shifting the state of your nervous system because perception is a direct reflection of your nervous system, just like everything else in your life. And that is not an exaggeration. When I say everything is connected to your nervous system, I truly mean every single thing in your life. And I want you to know that that is not my personal opinion. This is just based on science. It's based on everything I've learned through my professional trainings and education. So I really want you to know that it's not my opinion, it's just science. So first, let's talk about what perception is. Perception is just the way that your mind processes and interprets information. And if you've been in my world for any amount of time, you know by now that your mind, your mindset, thoughts are all a direct reflection of the state of your nervous system, just like I said, because everything is connected. So when you experience trauma and that trauma hasn't been processed or released from the body, your nervous system is going to be functioning from a state of survival. And when you're functioning from a state of survival, your nervous system is going to perceive things as dangerous, even when they're not actually a threat. So for example, if someone grew up in an unhealthy, chaotic, or toxic environment, and that's what their nervous system is used to, and then they come across people who are kind and friendly and the exact opposite of what they've experienced, then they might perceive these people as fake or interpret their kindness as something negative. Some thoughts that may go along with this could be, nobody is ever that happy, nobody is ever that nice, or I don't trust really nice people, and so on and so forth. And while that perception is valid, it's not entirely accurate, right? Because the truth is, someone could just be kind and happy and friendly without having an ulterior motive. So in this example, the person's nervous system is in a state of fight. And the way the nervous system is trying to protect them is by staying away from people who are too nice, because the nervous system doesn't have the capacity to receive this level of kindness. And one of the results is experiencing negative thinking or having a negative perception towards someone's kindness. This is why so many people self-sabotage, because the nervous system doesn't yet have the capacity to receive all of the good. And so it goes back to what feels familiar, because your nervous system interprets familiarity as safe, even though logically we might know that not everything that's familiar is safe. So, your nervous system is always sensing your surroundings and making quick decisions on whether something or someone is safe. And this all happens way before it even reaches your conscious mind. That's why you can try to reframe your thoughts all you want, but it's not until you heal your nervous system and connect with your body that you'll actually start to perceive and think differently long term. So when it comes to having a negative perception of yourself, it won't really matter how many affirmations you say if you're not feeling it in your body. We all logically know to some level that we're worthy, but so many of us don't feel worthy in our bodies, and that's the disconnect. Knowing and feeling are two different things. So I'll give you a personal example. I have a long history, as you know, of living in survival mode, and I used to have a very negative view of myself. And my entire life, people have given me compliments and positive feedback about who I am as a person. And I always masked my low self-esteem by thanking them. But those words always felt empty to me. When someone gave me a compliment, I would pretend like I was receiving it, but inside I could not understand what people saw in me. There was such a huge disconnect with how people perceived me and how I perceived myself and how I thought people perceived me. And so because I had such a negative perception of myself, I also had this perception and fear that people didn't like me, or that they found me annoying, or that they thought negatively about me in some way. And here's the reality. I'm sure that there are people who don't like me. And historically, I would have tried everything to make that person like me. I would people please. I would try to make them laugh and be silly. I would stay in toxic relationships and friendships, right? I didn't have the capacity in my nervous system to not be liked, because that was already the narrative that I had. That was the core belief. And now that I've healed my nervous system, where I am no longer living in a state of survival mode, I've grown the capacity to not be liked. I've grown the capacity to receive compliments and feel the words land in my entire body. It no longer feels empty when someone says something nice about me. And there's no disconnect. Not because I repeated affirmations every day, but because I helped my nervous system feel safe to receive the positive things that people say and connect with that inner knowing that every single woman has, so that I could reconnect with who I am at my core. And that leads me to perceptions of others. Once I was able to connect so deeply with my true self and know at my core who I am as a human, other people's perceptions didn't matter. And realistically, everyone struggles with wanting to fit in or be liked at some level, because we're all wired for connection. So if we don't have that sense of belonging, our nervous system is going to go right back into that survival mode. But when you have a flexible nervous system, you can have a doubt or a negative thought about someone not liking you, and without trying so hard, you'll notice the thought and let it go. And that's the difference between healing your nervous system and reframing your thoughts. With reframing your thoughts, aka mindset work, you are intentionally and actively trying to change that negative thought over and over again every time it comes up. Every time that negative thought comes up, or every time you have that self-doubt. But when you heal at the level of the nervous system, you can simply notice the thought and maybe be curious about it, and then naturally come back out of it without getting stuck, without spending hours or days trying to reframe those thoughts. Because again, you've been able to create a flexible nervous system. So I'll give you another example of what healing at the level of your nervous system feels like. Imagine someone comes up to you and says, I don't like your yellow shirt. And then you look at your shirt and you're confused because your shirt is blue. I imagine that this comment isn't going to do much to you because you know that your shirt is blue and not yellow. If anything, you'll feel a little bit confused, and that's pretty much it, right? And come to the conclusion that that person's comment is a them problem. That's exactly what it feels like when you've connected with who you are at your core through nervous system healing. Because you know who you are, and you know that somebody else's perception of you is just a reflection of them and their own nervous system. Just like your perception is a reflection of the state of your nervous system, somebody else's perception is a reflection of their nervous system. And it's the same thing when it comes to communication and setting boundaries. You could communicate something so perfectly, and someone will still only perceive it through the lens of their nervous system. And healing your nervous system will allow you the capacity to let go of that need or desire to control what other people think or how they receive your information. Because again, how people receive your information is just a reflection of the state of their nervous system. And this is exactly what I help the women in my world with every single day. So if this episode resonated with you and you're wanting more support around healing your nervous system to have a more positive perception of yourself, others, or build the capacity to be okay with letting people have a negative perception of you, then you are absolutely going to want to be in my Embodied Healing Collective program that launches in September. This is going to be unlike any other coaching program in the online space. And I know in my entire being that it's going to be absolutely transformational. So if you're interested, let me know. I'm only accepting a small group of women, so spots are very limited. So if you want more information, email me or send me a DM on Instagram so I can give you all of the details. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you absolutely loved this episode, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcast, or take a screenshot and share this episode on social media. Don't forget to tag me at tatiana.holistic.coach. The more nervous systems we reach, the more generational cycles we break, and the more we contribute to a kinder and safer world. And if you're looking for somatic healing services, send me a DM and I'd love to chat on how I can support you. I'll see you in the next episode.